The story begins with the Dark Prince, also known as you, the player, walking across a bridge. He moves as if he's injured and eventually collapses, falling flat on his face. Witnessing this, a small yellow bat monster panics and calls for help. In response, a large purple monster rushes over to aid the Dark Prince. Upon inspecting the Dark Prince's body, the large purple creature discovers his true identity and is visibly shocked. The bat, confused, asks, "If he isn't an ordinary human, what is he?" The large purple monster reveals that he is none other than Randolfo the Tyrant's son, a prince among the monster folk. It is revealed that Randolfo had a child with a human woman, but the boy's whereabouts were unknown. The bat and the purple monster then ponder why the boy has appeared in Nadiria now. The scene cuts, and we are shown the Dark Prince standing next to his mother, who is lying on a bed. A slime sits on a stool beside the bed. The mother consoles the prince about his bullying problem, emphasizing that no matter what happens, he must never lay a finger on a human. She explains that the prince is not like them, meaning humans, and that he has to try twice as hard as anyone else to be human. We then witness the Dark Prince being bullied by two little boys. He is kicked to the ground, and another boy named Evan steps between the Dark Prince and the bullies. Despite Evan's intervention, the bullies proceed to beat up both Evan and the Dark Prince, leaving them both lying on the ground. After some time passes, the Dark Prince is at home when he hears a knock at the door. Outside in the rain stands Evan. Evan tells the Dark Prince that the Shrivelier got his dad, and once it strikes, it comes for the whole family. The Dark Prince then runs out of his house, rushing past Evan. The Dark Prince rushes to the Shriveler's lair to confront him. In an intense battle, the Dark Prince slays the Shriveler as Evan watches from afar. In its dying breath, the Shriveler asks what Monsterkind royalty is doing in a backwater place like this. Evan, having witnessed everything that just unfolded, looks at the prince with great fear. In fear and confusion, Evan runs away. The prince, in sorrow, drops his sword. As the prince was running back home, he saw an angry mob of townspeople looking for him. When the prince got back to his house, he found his mom and their slime outside the house, watching it burn. As my mother lay on the ground, fatigued from sickness, she tells me to please embrace my humanity. She begs me to stay away from my father, who rules over Nadiria. My mother then falls asleep. With anger in my heart, I grab my sword and leave toward Nadiria. Back in present day, I awake to find the purple monster and the yellow bat by my side. The purple monster urges me to give up on seeing my father. Not interested in the purple monster's warnings, I waddle off towards my father's throne room. Once I reach my father's throne room, my father's attendant is impressed that I made it this far. My father asks me why I've returned to the underworld of which I was outcast. I implore him to heal my mother, as Randolfo has the power to do so if he desires. In an attempt to force Randolfo, I draw my sword. Randolfo laughs and lifts his hand, causing eyeballs to appear around me. A curse is then cast upon me. I am now unable to harm creatures of monster blood. Randolfo then begins to send me to the end of time itself, Globo Oscuro. However, before he can complete the teleportation, a bright yellow light flashes and I am whisked away. When I open my eyes next, standing in front of me is a huge white and gold dragon. The dragon introduces itself as the one who sees all. It informs me that my mother passed away a short while ago and encourages me to live my life as she wished, as a human. The dragon offers to remove the monster blood coursing through my veins. However, I refuse, expressing my determination to seek revenge by deposing of my father and taking his title as the Master of Monsterkind. I explain that for this, I will require the strength of a monster. The dragon agrees, saying very well, and then shines a bright light upon me, teleporting me to a place called Rose Hill. Years have passed since the incident, and I have made a life for myself at Rose Hill. I wake up to see a short, wide man named Royston. He informs me that Monty was asking about me, and he suggests that I go see him. After getting up, stretching my legs, and walking around the town, I headed over to Monty. He wants to talk about the curse I have. Acknowledging my night-long research on ways to get rid of it, Monty expresses gratitude for the magic barrier I erected, protecting the town from both human folk and wild monsters. He reminisces about how the village found me lost one day and now we're like family. However, he admits that they are no closer to finding a cure for the curse than the day I arrived. This is why Monty suggested a new approach. Before Monty could tell me about the new approach, the village was attacked by 3 big monsters. The villagers attempted to fight them off, but had no luck. I pulled out my sword, but the curse prevented me from attacking the monsters. Just as one of the monsters was about to strike me down, another monster appeared out of nowhere and saved me from the attack. Behind me stood Monty, accompanied by 2 monsters. He ordered his monsters to attack the enemy monsters, forcing them to retreat from the village. Monty mentioned that he would tell me more about how he tamed the monsters later. For now, it was time to heal the injured. Pretending to the injured villagers, Monty met me back at my house. He explained that the barrier wouldn't hold off the monsters forever, and it was time for me to learn to protect myself. Monty suggested that I become a Monster Wrangler, an esteemed gladiator who commands monstrous troops in battle. After asking me a few questions, he then gave me my first monster, a platypunk. It was love at first sight. Monty was now set to teach me the ABCs of monster wrangling. Monty then took me out to the plains. But before he could teach me about monster wrangling, a monster appeared out of nowhere. This monster introduced herself as Fizzy, and claimed that she could smell my natural monster wrangling talent from a mile away. Monty explained that Fizzy is a first-rate instructor of monster wranglers, and reckoned he could leave me in her capable hands. For my very first battle, I faced the iconic Slime. The fighting was pretty simple. Give your monsters orders, and let them fight based on the orders you give them. During my fight with the Slime, I was able to scout the creature, thus gaining a new team member. After learning the basics of fighting and scouting, I explored the plains, battling monsters to gain experience, and scouting any creatures I could find that weren't already on my team. After successfully scouting some new monsters, I decided to head over to Fizzy for the next part of my training. While I was talking to Fizzy, the season changed to autumn. It seems seasons change very quickly in this realm. Fizzy advised me to go and explore the area, as different seasons bring various monsters and environmental changes. She instructed me to meet her at the waterfall just a bit further down the path when I was done. As I explored the new area, I noticed tons of leaves on the ground due to the seasonal change, and there were also monsters I had never seen before. It's worth mentioning that when monsters level up, they gain talent points. I can allocate these points to different talents, unlocking more skills as I decide where to allocate them. After using all of my monsters' talent points, I decided to scout as many new monsters as I could during this autumn season. After scouting all the new monsters I could find, I headed over to the waterfall, where I was to meet Fizzy. Upon meeting Fizzy, the season changed from autumn to winter, and the waterfall froze solid, revealing a hidden cave. Fizzy instructed me to explore the new area and then to meet them under the nearby arch. While exploring the new icy area, I was able to find a couple of new monsters, the Calamari Kid and the Ant Guzzler. After scouting both of them, and adding them to my party, it was time to explore the cave. I was excited to enter the cave, expecting a big, long dungeon full of monsters. Unfortunately, it did not live up to my expectations. It was just a small cave with one chest at the end. However, I didn't let that get me down. I proceeded to the arch where Fizzy said they would be. On my way to the arch, I found a new monster called a mischievous mole. Near where I found the mischievous mole, I stumbled across something even scarier. A giant blue cyclops. Excited to scout the cyclops, I ran over and fought it. This turned out to be a huge mistake. The cyclops immediately attacked one of my monsters, killing it with one swing of his mallet. Panicking, I tried to run, and eventually my monsters and I barely escaped, but not before losing 3 of my monsters. It was a close call. Trying my hardest to get as far away as I could from the cyclops spawn point, I went to go meet up with Fizzy. When I met up with Fizzy, the season changed to spring. Fizzy showed me some flowers in the river that I could use as a boat. She then told me that she had taught me all that she needed to about monster wrangling, and I had passed the audition with flying colors. As a reward, she would teach me a handy little spell, Zoom. This spell would allow me to teleport any place I had already visited. With that wrapped up, I completed the tutorial, and now I was on my own, ready to start my monster wrangling adventure. I then explored the plains, attempting to scout as many monsters as I could. The first monster I scouted was this green, fuzzy, weird-looking creature called a feral ball. I then scouted this really cool-looking monster called a killer pillar. I love this little guy's face. I then fought some more monsters to gain experience for my newly scouted monsters, and decided it was time to head back to Rose Hill to continue the main quest. Back at Rose Hill, Monty informed me about the Monster Depot, which is essentially the PC system similar to Pokemon. Monty also told me about a tournament called Monster Mega Brawl held in a big town called Endor. Winning the tournament will help me make a name for myself. Fortunately, Monty had a teleporter prepared that would take me straight to Endor. It wouldn't be a Akira Toriyama game without a tournament. Before entering the tournament, my addiction to monster catching started to make me itch. So I went back out to the Rose Hill Plains and I caught all of the monsters in the area. I scouted a wing slime, a dragonthorn, a komodo, and a teeny sanguini. I was now ready to fight in the tournament. I assembled the perfect squad for the G-rank battles. I needed to win 3 battles to take home the trophy. In this tournament, I wasn't able to give my monster specific orders. I could only instruct them on tactics and trust them to do the work. My first opponent was a beta-looking man named Clancy, and my monsters easily wiped the floor with him, as expected. Next on the chopping block was an old man named Uncle Trevor. This wouldn't be the first time I beat up an old man. My monsters dispatched of his monsters quite easily. The final fight was with a man who looked like he was really into BDSM. I wasn't here to judge though, I was just here to kick his ass and win this tournament. And that's exactly what I did. After the tournament concluded, the referee directed our attention to a group of people. The humans who worked at the Coliseum had caught an elf monster girl. In this world, when elves cry, rupees fall from their eyes instead of tears. Rupees are the currency of the world, making her a highly sought-after monster. The humans then beat the elf girl until she cried. As expected, rupees fell from her eyes, but the rubies broke as soon as another human touched them. In the commotion caused by this, the elf girl was able to escape her captors. Luckily, I was watching all of this unfold. Outside of the Coliseum, the elf girl was hiding behind a tree from her captor. My curse didn't stop me from hurting humans, so before the slave trader could get their hands on the elf girl, I lit his hair on fire. He ran away like a pathetic child. She was then reunited with her small devil friend who was looking for her. Later that day, I got a knock at my door. The elf girl Rose and her devil friend came to the village. They came to thank me for saving them. Rose then asked me if she could join me. At first I denied her because the path I walk is a dangerous one, but she explained that she could find a way to break my curse, and that was all she needed to say to convince me, so I decided to let her join my party. After annihilating the G-rank tournament, I decided to enter the F-rank tournament. However, I was a little too overconfident and I ended up losing in my first round of the F-rank tournament. It was a sad day, but I didn't let that get me down. I trained like a crazy person. I grinded through monsters out in the Rosebud Fields until I felt ready to go back and take on the F-rank tournament. After leveling up my monsters, I was finally ready to get my sweet revenge. My first opponent was the nasty and cunning Lady Aurelia. This time, I decided to switch up my tactics. Instead of going all out and attacking her directly, I went with a better strategy. I set one of my monsters to buff my others, and one of my monsters to heal my other monsters when needed. This worked like a charm, and I defeated Lady Aurelia with ease. My next opponent was a small Chinese woman named Lady Long. This match wasn't even close. I wiped the floor with her. For the final match in the F-rank tournament, I faced an obese man named Gorgeous Gordon. He had a large monster on his team, which was a little intimidating, but I was able to put the large snake to sleep and beat him while he was sleeping. He hardly got a chance to fight back. And with that, I was able to clear rank F and win the tournament. After the tournament ended, a giant cat in robes appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. His name is Fergal, and he works for the Monster Mauling Association. He wanted me to fight at the mausoleum in Nadiria. He said there were stronger contestants there, so I gladly accepted. He then gave me Travelite, a stone created by the elves. Once I used the stone, I would be able to travel to Nadiria whenever I liked. The cat suggested I bring the stone back to Rose, where she could help me use it. Excited to check out a new area, I rushed the stone back to Rose. Rose knew what the stone was immediately upon seeing it, and then she used it to open a portal to Nadiria. After doing a weird little dance, we were teleported to Nadiria. Immediately upon leaving the tower, we were greeted by Fergal. He told me that the place we were in is called the Circle of Conquest, one of the 6 realms of Nadiria. Each realm is divided into 3 parts, the lower, middle, and upper echelons. Right now, I was in the lower echelon, specifically the lower echelon of the Circle of Conquest. This is where the mausoleum was located. Before I could even think about going to the mausoleum, I had to check out all of the new monsters around here. I wanted to scout as many as I could before heading over to the next story point. The first one I scouted is my new favorite looking monster, the Leery Lout, a little goblin dude with a shield. The next monster I scouted was a creepy skeleton, another Dragon Quest classic. And the third monster I scouted was a gross-looking worm called the Mad Mollusk. And the final monster I scouted was a Fungool, a weird mushroom-looking dude. While I was exploring the area, the seasons changed from winter to summer, and a whole slew of new monsters appeared. It was time to scout them all. The first one I scouted was a Bubble Slime, a gross green puddle of ooze. The next monster I scouted was a creepy-looking slug called Lips. And the final monster I scouted was a ghost, who was just kind of a ghost. I then proceeded to train all of these monsters up to around level 9 or 10, and then I headed over to the mausoleum. When I walked into the mausoleum, I was met with Fergal again. He explained to me that I needed to boost my reputation by beating category G in the mausoleum. With my rep boosted, new monsters would join my party more easily. Slightly angry that I took so much time trying to scout monsters without the reputation boost, I entered the category G tournament. I was very confident that I was going to steamroll this tournament. After grinding for a long time to scout monsters in the new area, I plan to use the same strategy as the last tournament: buff, heal, and attack. My first opponent was a giant blue flame-looking guy named Jock Frost, and what do you know? I completely obliterated him. My next opponent was a short knight-looking fella. He actually put up a good fight against me. He was able to kill my anteater monster named Gluck Gluck, but the rest of my team got revenge for Gluck Gluck and pulled through. I was a little nervous for the last battle because the enemies were getting stronger. The same thing happened. Gluck Gluck died early in the final battle. Luckily, the rest of my team, ever resilient, were able to battle on and eventually win me that category G tournament. But it was close. After winning the tournament, I received a yellow travel light as a prize. This is the key to teleporting to a new area. But before I could leave, I needed to capture all of the monsters in the lower echelon of the Circle of Conquest. I scouted a Lunatic and a Putrefido. I also figured out that you could breed 2 monsters to make a new one. This is amazing and so addicting because the monsters are so much stronger after you breed them, the child they have. I'm not going to go over all the monsters I fused. I did it with a lot of them. I breeded 2 monsters to make... It's called synthesis. It's not really breeding, but they have parents. It's very similar. But I did this a lot, and I addicted to this because it makes even cooler monsters. But I'll make sure to mention the important ones in the future, like if I get a really, really strong monster from this process, I'll throw it in the video. After a little more training, I decided it was finally time to head to the new area. I placed the travel light in the teleport circle, and I was off to the new area. The new area was called the Circle of Temper Lower Echelon. This area is full of fiery monsters. It was essentially a volcano. Fire rained from the sky here, and I wandered all around the area, fighting all the new monsters I could find. I tried scouting the monsters in the area, but it was very hard to scout any of them. My percent to scout them was so low, and after what felt like forever, I finally was able to scout a fire spirit. After grinding until my monsters hit level 11, I was able to get another lucky break and scout a shadow. Now these guys looked kind of basic, so I wasn't really all that excited, but I was excited that I grinded till level 11. I felt very strong. After a little more grinding, I found a monster village. In the village, there's a big fat rat named Gorbert. His son went missing. While he and his son were out, a huge burst of lava came flying out of the side of a mountain, creating a river of lava, and his son got stuck on the other side. Norbert blamed this on Bernie, the youngest of the Brimstone boys, who caused the lava burst by opening the infernal gate. Norbert tasked us with defeating Bernie and closing the infernal gate, thus stopping the lava flow. I still felt weak for this area, so I decided to train a little. I also synchronized some new monsters because they were just stronger in general. I also got really lucky and scouted a she-slime. I was pretty proud of this. After training to around level 11, I stumbled across the missing rat boy. Just as his father said, the rat boy was stuck on the other side of a massive lava river. I entered a cave in the side of the mountain. In the cave, I found a boy in battle against 3 monsters. When the monsters attacked, the boy threw a smoke ball on the ground and the monsters around him fainted. When trying to figure out what he was doing here, he introduced himself. His name is Totally in Trouble, a researcher of magic. He came to Nadiria for treasure, and then he held up an item he said he stole earlier. Seeing that I am visibly offended that he stole, he then taunts me. He then holds up a travelite and says he stole it from the rat's hovel, and asks me if I want it. After some more taunting, Tolan laughs and runs away. Ignoring that weird dude for now, I decided to go deeper into the cave and look for the infernal gate. When I was in the cave, I found this awesome looking cat/bat monster, and I was lucky enough to scout him. This guy's actually really cool. I actually like this guy a lot. Deeper in the cave, I finally found the infernal gate, but it was guarded by a dragon named Bernie. I may have overtrained a little because Bernie didn't stand a chance against my team. I slapped a few debuffs on him and took him out in only a few turns. After the battle, Bernie ran away like a child. He said he would tell his big brother about me, and I told him to tell them I only let you live so they would know how strong I am. After that, I pushed a giant lever, and that closed the infernal gate. Closing the infernal gate dried out the lava river almost immediately, ensuring safe passage for the rat kid to get home. Because my reputation increased in the area, it was much easier for me to scout new monsters. So I went out and scouted a really cool looking green fella named Bongo Drongo, and then I caught my first large monster, a foo dog. I then went back to the rats to make sure the rat's son made it home okay. As I was talking to the rats, Toylan approached and gave me the green travelite he stole from the rats. He then asked me to join the team, and I was like, sure, the more the merrier. I'm sure he won't steal anything from us later on in the future. Before I went on to the new area, I decided to go back to the Ondor Coliseum to participate in the Category E tournament. I was way too overleveled for this, and I ended up beating it very, very easily. With everything I needed wrapped up, it was time to teleport to a new area. This new area did not disappoint. It was called Whole Cake Island, and it was a fantastic looking island. There were donuts and pastries all over. It was very Big Mom themed. Okay, maybe it wasn't called Whole Cake Island, but that's what we're going to call it from now on. After doing the classic, exploring the island and trying to scout every new monster, I eventually went over to the quest area, which was a giant cake. I met a little blue girl named Eileen inside. Her friend Duffer was imprisoned by a guy named Ralph. Now, I don't know what kind of NTR situation I just came across, but I agreed to help out of sheer curiosity. I immediately went over to save Duffer from the evil Ralph, mostly because I fell in love with anyone named Duff after my experience with Dave the Diver. Duff was imprisoned at a place called Hotcake Heap, and there was a ton of sticky stuff all over the ground, and I really hope this is syrup, but who knows how long Ralph and Duffer have been cooped up in here. After fighting my way back to the top of Hotcake Heap, I found the infamous Ralph. He looked like he belonged in Kaido's crew. Now, Ralph told me that Duffer was being, and I quote, a naughty boy indeed. Now, I was just joking when I said the NTR situation, but now I'm not so sure. I guess Duffer released something called the Unspeakable One, and Ralph was punishing him. Turns out Ralph was the culprit the entire time, though, and he was just lying. But honestly, we were just kind of here to beat up Ralph and get some street cred to make it easier to recruit some monsters. Now, I do have to say, even though Ralph looks like one of Oda's failed attempts at drawing a Beastman, he was no chump. He killed half of my monsters. Luckily, in my reserves was a hero, Fat Rat. Fat Rat finished off Ralph with a move called Beast Tamer. A fitting end to Ralph. Turns out Duffer used some forbidden magic to save Eileen, but Ralph found out and was blackmailing Duffer. That was what was going on in the situation. Yeah, don't do it. It was your basic NTR situation. When I returned to Rosetown, I met up with my old friend Fergal. He told me I attracted the attention of the bigwigs. Then a hologram of my father's assistant appeared, Ammon. He told me I need to be much stronger if I wanted to kill Randolfo. He then suggested I'd look into the power of evolution. Now, this got me extremely excited. I didn't even know there was evolution in this game. I wanted to accomplish this quest immediately and start evolving my monsters as quick as I could. But before I can get to the evolution, I'm going to have to cut this video off here. I'm really enjoying this game, but this style of editing is very time-consuming, and Pal World just came out. So I'm going to make a similar style video with Pal World, but if this video gets enough likes, I'll come back to it in the future. I really like the Dragon Quest franchise. Honestly, I'm probably going to play the game all the way through by myself without recording it. I'll still record it, but I won't make a video out of it because I just enjoy this game a lot. But thank you guys for watching. Like, comment. If this gets enough likes, of course, I'll make another video of it. But you're definitely going to see more JRPG content from me because I have been in a JRPG drought and I'm loving it. But I have a lot of JRPGs in the backlogs and a lot of good ones are coming out this year. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.